All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the one and only Wrestling Otaku channel. Of course, your personification of excellence on YouTube and YWC, where the best reviews wrestling, and your three-time YWC Channel of the Year. And I'm back here. It is now past midnight, so it is now officially Sunday, May 25th of 2025. So I'm back here for my second video of the night, technically, and I am here as promised to give you my official AEW Double or Nothing 2025 predictions video. So, as you probably are aware of by now, we are less than 24 hours away from the pay-per-view taking place. AEW's it's essentially their six-year anniversary of the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, which of course the first one taking place in 2019. It was really, if you think about it, the first big pay-per-view that AEW put on in its history. Of course, they showed video packages highlighting all the previous Double or Nothing shows that they've had. There's a lot of history of Double or Nothing. The only thing that preceded it was, of course, All In, the original All In, which was, of course, happened before AEW was formed back in 2018. But, that's neither here nor there. That's another story for another time. But anyway, so Double or Nothing 2025. Tomorrow night, of course, emanating from Arizona, Glendale, Arizona, and it's going to be a pretty solid event. Like I looked at the card up and down, and I showed the match card. They had the rundown of the match card on Collision. I actually clipped that and uploaded it here to the channel. So Double or Nothing tomorrow. Personally, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure it's going to be a really solid pay-per-view, as really pretty much every AEW pay-per-view they've done in the last year and a half, 2 years, has been a solid show. AEW, if there's one thing that AEW does better than anything else, it is deliver on their pay-per-views. Regardless of what the match card looks like, regardless of whether there's a legit build or not, AEW always delivers on their pay-per-views, and Double or Nothing will be no different. So, as I mentioned before, we're left less than 24 hours away from the show taking place, so I figured now is as good as time as any, because I didn't get the chance to do it yesterday, so I'm going to do it here tonight. And so, wanted to go ahead and give you guys my predictions video for the pay-per-view. Very much looking forward to the show. I will be home, in time for it. I do have to work, but I get off at 7, so I should be at home in time, at least to catch, the back end of or at least a good chunk of the 0 hour, which I'm sure there's going to be a 0 hour pre-show. So I'll get the chance to watch it. So really can't wait to see what the show, what it brings, man. There's several matches I'm looking forward to, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But anyway, so with that being said, without further ado, let's get into this thing, man. So for those of you who are familiar with the channel, familiar with these predictions videos, you know how this goes. For anybody who's new, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through every match that has been scheduled for the card for tomorrow night. Give my brief kind of thoughts on it. I'm trying to make this brief. I don't want this video to be too long. Of course, I say that in the past, and it ends up being a 34-minute video. Because I tend to, when it comes to wrestling, when it comes to things of this nature, or anything I'm interested in general, I can go on, quite a bit. I can talk. I can be fairly talkative when it comes to things I'm interested in. So, if the video runs long, it is what it is. But I'm gonna try to make this one, as brief as possible. I'm not to be too long, because I don't want to have this video be too long. But anyway, I'm gonna run through every match, go over every match that's been scheduled so far or announced so far. Give my brief thoughts on it. What I think of the build, so on and so forth. Do I think whether or not I think it's going to be a good match, all that kind of stuff. Then get my picks as to who I think is going to win and why. And so that's pretty much what we're going to do here. So, without further ado, allow me to give you my official AEW Double or Nothing 2025 predictions. Here we go. So as we currently stand, there are 10 matches that have been named for the card for the show, courtesy of their Wikipedia and other places as well. There's one match that has been listed or announced for the 0 hour, and all the remaining 9 matches are going to be on the main card. I'm sure they're going to add at least another 2 or 3 matches to the 0 hour, because they do it all the time. They add matches last minute, so I'm sure there's going to be at least 2, if not 3, matches on the 0 hour. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, so with that being said, let us run through the matches here, and we will begin with that 0 hour match. It is going to be a tag team match, and it is going to be the team, and this was advertised, by the way, on Dynamite and Collision as well. Well, more so Collision. It is going to be the team of Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford versus Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. We've seen these four ladies go at it the last several weeks, specifically Megan Bayne, just, once again asserting her dominance over pretty much all of her opponents, minus Toni Storm, because she took the loss to Toni Storm, in that match for the AEW World title a couple months ago. I believe that was at Revolution, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so Megan Bayne has been asserting her dominance really since she's been in AEW, and especially in the last couple weeks in regards to like confrontations she's had with Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. She beat them both in singles matches, and you've seen Penelope Ford, who has basically aligned herself with Megan Bayne, kind of, passing off her own agenda, going at Anna Jay specifically because those two have had history. And then Harley Cameron and Anna Jay have this weird kind of unity going on, kind of like what we thought we were going to see with Harley Cameron and Mercedes Moné, with the whole puppet Moné and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so so we've seen kind of back and forth between these two, these two pairings, these two teams, if you will, and that's going to culminate here in this match. So should be a decent enough match. Not anything particularly interesting or special about it, but it should be a fine match, for the 0 hour. And, you look forward to seeing what the chemistry is going to look like for Anna Jay and Harley Cameron, as well as, for Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. I'm sure Megan Bayne will have the majority of the offense in the match. And so we'll see how Anna Jay and Harley Cameron kind of come together. We'll see if they can overcome the odds here, and overcome, the towering, the towering opposition that is Megan Bayne, along with Penelope Ford. So should be a decent enough match. I don't expect anything special, but it should be fine for what it is. As to who wins, I'm kind of leaning towards Anna Jay and Harley Cameron to pull an upset. I don't know, because, again, we've seen Megan Bayne pretty much, beat both of them in singles matches. So I figured a tag match would more so favor the, the babyface team here, which that being Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. It could go either way. For the sake of this video, I'm going to give it to Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. I think they're going to get one up on Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, because it will kind of seem lopsided to give Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford the win here, just considering that, it wouldn't be much of like a feud or a rivalry or back or whatever they're trying to make it if, you had Megan Bayne win all the time. But even though, again, Megan Bayne has only lost one match, in her AEW career since she's been here. Of course, that match against Toni Storm I mentioned. And obviously you want to keep her strong, but it's a tag match. So if either of them, if anybody's going to eat the pin, it's obviously going to be Penelope, And if AEW wants to keep Anna Jay and even especially Harley Cameron credible, they will give them the victory here. I think they will give them the victory here, and Penelope's probably going to eat the pin. So I'm taking Anna Jay and Harley Cameron over Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford for that tag match. All right. So with that being said, let us move on. I'm trying to keep it going here. Again, I don't want to be this be too long. All right, so let's move on to the main card here. The 9 matches for the main card, and they are as follows. We will start with the 2025 Women's Owen Hart Foundation Cup Tournament Final. And, of course, the winner of this match will not only be the Owen Hart Cup winner for the women's side, they will receive an AEW World title match against the champion, whoever it may be, at, of course, this year's All In 2025, which will be in Texas. So, a lot on the line here. So for this match, we've got Mercedes Moné, current TBS champion, and she's also Rev Pro champion as well. 3 belts, I guess it's now 3 belts, Moné. Mercedes Moné, one-on-one versus Jamie Hayter, the 2 finalists. We've seen these two go back and forth in interview segments and post-match segments as of late. And they're really hyping this thing up since these two made it to the finals, a couple weeks ago. And it's a first-time match, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they work together. Both ladies are very solid, especially Mercedes Moné. It's been, AEW has been touting her as, being undefeated, 25-0, undefeated as TBS champion. Hasn't taken a single loss since she came to AEW. And so obviously she's a very much, you would think, should be very much a favorite going into this match. And then you got Jamie Hayter, who did take a good time off the shelf with injury, but she's, coming to her own, although she's taken some losses here and there for the most part, but she's looked very strong. And in this Owen Hart Cup tournament, she's looked strong as well. So I think if anybody can pull the upset over Mercedes Moné, it would be somebody like a Jamie Hayter, who's a former AEW Women's World Champion. So very much looking forward to this match. I think these two ladies are going to go the wire. I think they're going to have a really, really solid match. If you've been paying attention to Mercedes Monet's matches, especially against the likes of Chris Statlander, Athena, other women that she's been in the ring with, she pulls the best. She brings out the best in her opponents. And that's just the level of talent that Mercedes Monet is. You can't deny that. So I expect this to be a very, very high quality, high caliber match from both ladies. I think it's going to be a very, very solid outing. It might even surpass the AEW Women's World Title match, although we'll see what about that. As to who wins, I just don't I can see Jamie Hayter pulling the upset. I just don't think it happens though. I think they're going to give it to Mercedes Moné. I think it's all but official that Mercedes Moné is advancing to All In, and she will challenge the AEW Women's World Champion. I think it's all but a foregone conclusion. Mercedes Moné, this whole undefeated streak of hers and her, her time in AEW and being booked as strongly as she has, it can only culminate with her becoming the world's champion or with the AEW Women's World Champion at some point. It may be All In, may not, but I just get the feeling Mercedes Moné is too good. Jamie Hayter, I think she's going to give her a run. She's definitely going to give her a run, much like Chris Statlander did. But I don't see her overcoming Mercedes Moné in this match. I just feel like Mercedes Moné is winning. I got Mercedes Moné over Jamie Hayter here. She wins the Owen Cup for this year, for 2025, and she will advance to All In and get a shot at the AEW Women's World Title for the first time since she's been in AEW. So, nonetheless, no matter who wins, it's going to be a badass match. It's going to be a great women's match. A lot of people are going to be talking about it. A lot of people are going to be gossiping about it. But give me Mercedes Moné for the victory over Jamie Hayter. We'll see what happens. Moving on. So next up, we get a tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. The champions, The Hurt Business, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, accompanied by MVP, versus the team of the Sons of Texas, that being Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, the current Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. So this match was put together as of about a week or so ago. It was due to, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara getting an opportunity or earning an opportunity, whatever have you. I'm not sure if that's on Ring of Honor TV or if it was just, determined that they would challenge, because the Hurt Syndicate needs challengers for the AEW tag titles because, they pretty much run through every team they faced. But yeah, so this kind of coincides. I don't know, coincides, but this kind of, the Hurt Syndicate, defending the tag titles here. They got this whole thing going on with MJF, MJF joining the Hurt Syndicate and that kind of whole thing with Bobby Lashley initially being against it. And then finally he kind of changes his mind. And then we saw that segment on Dynamite where, MJF was officially brought in or coronated into the Hurt Syndicate. It was a contract signing. And that was interrupted by, of course, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, where Dustin basically warned the Hurt Syndicate that, they can't trust MJF and so on and so forth. And they said they're going to give them a fight, the fight of their lives for the AEW World Tag titles. So, I haven't got the chance to watch a whole lot of Ring of Honor nowadays. Not necessarily because I don't want to, but it's really hard for me to get a hold of it because I don't have, I don't have Ring of Honor's, streaming service. What do they call it? Honor Club. And I could go on a site like Watch Wrestling and check it out, but it's just one of those things where I don't always have a whole lot of time between work and all the other stuff I watch. Every now and then I will check out a Ring of Honor show, but it's just I can't do it every single week. So, but Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes are the Ring of Honor Tag Champions. They are technically, well, they stated that they were undefeated as a tag team, I believe, since they won the titles. So, it's certainly a credible team. Credible enough team to challenge the Hurt Syndicate. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a fun match. Dustin Rhodes is up there, but he can still put on a solid match. And Sammy Guevara, of course, is Sammy Guevara, one of the four pillars of AEW. So I expect them to give the Hurt Syndicate a run. I just don't think they're going to really overcome the dominance that is. I don't think they're going to be the team to beat the Hurt Syndicate. I don't think they're going to overcome them. So Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin versus Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, AEW World Tag Title match. My prediction, Hurt Syndicate is retaining. I just don't see any way that Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes are beating the Hurt Syndicate. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see any way that the Hurt Syndicate are losing those titles anytime soon until this whole thing with MJF plays out. And I think you know what I'm referring to. But yeah, so I got the Hurt Syndicate retaining here. And I do think that for people who are kind of questioning the quality of the Hurt Syndicate's opponents, I think, there are a lot of the the more notable teams, like, an FTR, for example, they're involved in other stuff right now, and they got all the Death Rider stuff, and they're involved. There's a lot of teams doing a lot of different things. So I think they're kind of waiting down till down the line to this whole thing with MJF, this MJF storyline plays out before they give the Hurts in to get really credible teams, to challenge or to defend the title against. So you just gonna have to be patient with that. And at some point, I do think AEW needs to have a tag team tournament, kind of like with what they do annually with the Owen Hart tournament and later with the Continental Classic. They need to have a tag team tournament, to kind of solidify and showcase their tag teams. And, the winner of said tournament gets a shot at the tag title. So it'll be great, it will be really good. It'll be really good to promote their tag division. So I think that should happen at some point. Nonetheless, I got the Hurt Syndicate retain the AEW tag titles. Moving on, so next up we have our singles match, this one being for the AEW Women's World Championship. Speaking of which, it's the champion timeless Toni Storm defending against AEW's newest hire, that being Mina Shirakawa. So we've seen these two go at it the last few weeks. This match came courtesy of Mina Shirakawa winning a 4-way, a eliminator match. And she actually pinned the champion. She actually pinned Toni Storm to win the match and get a shot at Toni Storm for this AEW world title, women's world title. So, again, these two have history dating back to the whole Mariah May thing. And so we've seen back and forth between these two. This past Wednesday on Dynamite, though, Mina Shirakawa won a match against, I forget who she faced. But anyway, so she won, and then afterwards, there was like a bit of a fight between Mina Shirakawa and Toni Storm. They kind of butted heads, and then Mina basically went after her leg or whatever, and then did like a finger four and wrapped around the ring post. Kind of a heelish move. Mina Shirakawa obviously known for being more of a face, or kind of a face, but that was kind of a heelish move. So I don't, going into it, these are two, I guess you could say technically babyface characters, but it seemed like Mina kind of came off a little heelish there, so I'm not sure if she's a tweener. I don't know. Nonetheless, AEW Women's World Title match. Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa. These two are going to work magic. I think just like with the Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter match. I think this is going to be very good. These are two very, very solid, quality wrestlers in the women's division. I'm so glad that Mina Shirakawa is officially an AEW talent. It was announced that she was officially signed to AEW. Thank God she's not going anywhere. And Toni Storm has been Toni Storm. She's been one of the best things about AEW. One of the best characters. One of the best characters. One of the best gimmicks. And not only AEW, but in pro wrestling, you could argue. And so she's been doing great. Great as women's champion. And Mina Shirakawa is going to give her a fight, man. I think this is going to be much like, again, the women's Owen Hart tournament finals. I think this is going to be a very solid, high-quality match that a lot of people are going to be talking about afterwards. So I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be very good. Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, love both of them. To me, whoever wins, I'm happy with. This is one of those matches where I don't care who wins because I like both of them. I love both of them. And either one of them winning, I'm good with. So that's what I feel about that. So it's gonna be a great match. As to who wins, it's a toss-up, but I gotta give it to Toni Storm. I think Toni Storm's winning here. She retains, and she will go on to All In to face, more than likely, my pick. Of course, earlier, a little while ago, I picked Mercedes Moné to win the Owen Hart Finals. So it'll be Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné for the AEW World Championship, for Women's World Championship at All In Texas. That's what I think is going to happen. So timeless Toni Storm will overcome Mina Shirakawa here, and she will successfully retain her title. I think it's going to be close, but I got Toni Storm winning this match. Moving on. So next up, we get a specialty tag team match, a grudge match, if you will. It is going to be FTR, of course, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood, versus the makeshift team, if you will, of Daniel Garcia and former Ring of Honor legend, Ring of Honor World Champion, coming out of, I don't want to say retirement. I guess technically it is retirement because he's more of a commentator now. But anyway, Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. So we've seen this whole heel turn of FTR materialize after they turned on Adam Copeland. And in the last several weeks, they've been basically running roughshod over pretty much everybody. More recently, they've been, antagonizing, of course, commentator Tony Schiavone and Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia for the most parts. And now you got Stokely Hathaway, who's their manager. And so he's basically their mouthpiece now. And so they've really been antagonizing people. So we've seen this, develop the last few weeks. Daniel Garcia questioning FTR why they're doing what they're doing. And then, again, Nigel McGuinness comes in the mix because, again, they've been antagonizing the announcers. And so, yeah, so that's pretty much what this match is about. And then we had a contract signing and all that kind of stuff. And so, on paper, a lot of people might not see anything about this match. But personally, based on the build and what we've been seeing in recent weeks, I'm personally looking forward to it. I really want to see what happens. I want to see how Nigel McGuinness does in the ring. And now I know he wrestled last year a couple times, but, he hasn't really been wrestled much this year. And it's kind of going to be interesting to see how he factors into this match. I'm sure he's going to be fine. I'm sure he'll wrestle fine, but I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. And Daniel Garcia, obviously, he's been improving, he's been a pretty solid wrestler, man. He's improved quite a bit in the last year or so. And then, of course, you got FTR, one of the best tag teams in the world, much less AEW. And so it has all the elements for a very interesting, very solid tag match. So we'll see what happens, man. As to who wins, kind of a toss-up here. Conventional wisdom says give it to Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia just because, they're out for revenge or quest for revenge to, avenge themselves, particularly Nigel McGuinness, and avenge, the honor of, Tony Schiavone and others. But I just get the feeling that FTR is going to win this through, some heelish means, some, dastardly tactics. Probably Stokely's going to get involved and cost, the other team the match. He's going to cost Garcia and McGuinness the match at some point. And so, yeah, I get the feeling that FTR is going to steal this victory. I think it's going to be close, but I think FTR is winning this match here. So that's pretty much it for that. Moving on. So next up, we got a specialty match here, another grudge match, if you will. And this is for the first time in AEW, we're going to see a stretcher match in AEW. It's going to be Mark Briscoe, one-on-one versus Ricochet. We've kind of seen these two butt heads a little bit the last few weeks. And the stretcher match concept is interesting because, like I said, it's the first ever stretcher match in the history of AEW. I would have think that they would save this for like a more high-profile feud. But I guess, they want to, I guess Tony Khan's kind of experimenting with it. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so on paper, this would be a solid match, for a show. Here on pay-per-view and the added stipulation of it being a stretcher match really kind of makes me curious. I haven't seen a stretcher match in a long-ass time since way back when. The last stretcher match I remember was freaking 2003 in WWE Judgment Day with Big Show versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Undisputed title. Of course, I think there was like one or two other stretcher matches outside of that. I'm probably forgetting, but that's the only one that comes to mind right off the top of my head. Seeing how AEW does the stretcher match stipulation is going to be interesting. And Mark Briscoe and Ricochet are two solid individuals. Like Ricochet with this heel gimmick has been money. Regardless of what people say about him, he's a troll on social media. He's just a menace on social media. He's a menace in segments. He's obviously he heals it up during matches and all that kind of stuff. And his character work has been solid. On top of the fact that he's a pretty solid wrestler, both, inside, outside the ring. And then Mark Briscoe is Mark Briscoe, he's a long-time Ring of Honor great, obviously still wrestling in the memory, of course, of his late brother, Jay. And, he's been doing his thing, man. So I expect these two guys to put on a show here. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the stretcher match stipulation plays in. I'm kind of looking forward to that. So we'll see what happens. As to who wins, another toss-up. I'm gonna give it to Ricochet. I just get the feeling that Ricochet is gonna find some kind of way to overcome Mark Briscoe in the stretcher match. I just get that feeling. I just get that sneaking feeling. Ricochet is gonna find a way to win this match. I just get that feeling. So give me Ricochet over Mark Briscoe for that. All right. So next up we have our specialty match, another specialty match here, multi-man match, and it is the Anarchy in the Arena match. Probably one of the matches, one of the marquee matches of this entire pay-per-view. Really, if you think about it, the last couple of years, Double or Nothing, they've had at least one Anarchy in the Arena for the last several years. And so this, I guess, is kind of like a almost like a namesake or almost like a signature match, if you will, for Double or Nothing, or synonymous with Double or Nothing. But anyway, Anarchy in the Arena match. It's going to be a team of Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, Will Nightingale, and the Ops, that being Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs, two-thirds of the AEW Trios champions, or Powerhouse Hobbs and Katsuyori Shibata. I'm sorry, I forgot to add, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Katsuyori Shibata, the current AEW Trios champions, versus the team of the Death Riders, Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Marina Shafir, Will Yuta, and the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. So 5-on-5. What? 5-on-5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6-on-6. Okay. 6-on-6 match here. Anarchy in the Arena. We've seen how Anarchy in the Arena plays out the last several years. It's been crazy, fucking wild, epic, all kinds of shit happening, fighting all around the arena. It's just complete. It lives up to its namesake. It lives up to his namesake, Anarchy in the Arena, and I'm sure this year's going to be no different with the Death Riders and all the shit that they've done over the last almost a year now. And then you got the Young Bucks. You throw the Young Bucks into the mix, who've been part of previous Anarchy in the Arena matches. And then you got Samoa Joe and his group. You got Swerve Strickland and Will Nightingale thrown into the mix as well. And Kenny Omega, of course, Kenny Omega is part of that as well. And so I look forward to this. I look forward to seeing what these guys do in this match. They're going to fucking pull all the bells and whistles, everything and anything you can think of, they're going to do in this fucking match. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to be crazy, and the crowd is going to be crazy for it, and they're going to eat it up, and I'm going to love it, dude. I can't wait to see what these guys do in this match. So it's going to be, we're about to see some wild shit in this fucking match. We're going to see some wild shit. I promise you, we're going to see some wild shit in this Anarchy in the Arena match. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see how it plays out. As to who wins, oh, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to call this match. I'm gonna take the babyface team here. I'm gonna take Omega's team, just because I feel they've got a little bit more to fight for, if you will. I think they want to try to get some positive momentum, and especially considering how later on we're gonna see the finals of the Owen Hart Men's Tournament. I get the feeling that the Death Riders and the Young Bucks are gonna be a little bit on their heels, coming off of this pay-per-view. So I just get that feeling. So give me Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, Will Nightingale, and the Ops to win this match over the Bucks and the Death Riders. So we'll see how it plays out. I could see the Death Riders and the Bucks winning too. So one of those kind of toss-up matches. You just never know what's going to happen. Moving on. So next up, we got another match that was kind of added within the last week. A singles match for the AEW Continental Championship. Kazuchika Okada, the champion, defending against Speedball Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey has been really, really impressing me the last several weeks, ever since he joined the AEW. Like, he's been money, he's been a solid wrestler, solid, talent. Of course, I've known him back, ever since his days he was wrestling in, of course, TNA. I know him from his time in TNA, Impact Wrestling, wrestling in the X Division. And so I'm very much acquainted with Speedball Mike Bailey. I've said for the longest time, of Speedball Mike Bailey, when he was a free agent, if he ever came to AEW, he would be a very, very good signing for them. And sure enough, I was proven right. Literally every single match this guy has, he puts on quality match after quality match after quality match after quality match. Quality outings every chance he gets. And I think there's going to be another one, man. And you got Kazuchika Okada, one of the best wrestlers in the world. He was the king of, New Japan for all those years. And now, he's been Continental Champion for over a year now. And so, yeah, man, Okada, at some point, you got to feel Okada is going to move up the ranks, when it comes to this AEW roster. He's been Continental Champion for a year now. And he won the Continental Classic back in December. And at some point, he's going to be in that world title picture. I have no doubt in my mind. But for now, he's defending the Continental title here, Continental Championship against Speedball Mike Bailey. And I think it's going to be a good match. This is going to be a really good match. This has the potential to steal the show. I think it's going to be that good. With these two guys as good as they are, and with all the with all the combination, the combining of style, the mixing of styles, I get the feeling this is going to be a very, very fun match, very good match between these two guys. Can't wait to see it. As to who wins, I would love to see Speedball Mike Bailey pull the upset, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Kazuchika Okada is going to find a way. He's going to find a way. He's going to have a will, and he's going to find a way to overcome Speedball Mike Bailey and his unique, unorthodox style, and he's going to retain this Continental Championship here. I just get that feeling, man. Kazuchika Okada, it's hard to bet against Okada. And I just don't think that Speedball Mike Bailey's going to have enough on this night to overcome Okada in this match. So Kazuchika Okada wins this match. He remains the Continental Champion for at least, for however long he's going to hold on to the title for. All right, next up, we have another kind of grudge match here. Specialty, not specialty, but more of a grudge match, if you will. 6-man tag trios match that was just announced as of, what was it? When they made this match? Collision, I believe? Or was it Collision or was it Dynamite? I can't remember. I think it was Collision. Anyway, so match was announced this week. Special trios match here, grudge match. It's going to be the team of the Paragon, that being Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong, formerly known as the Undisputed Kingdom, or just the Undisputed. Now they're known as the Paragon. Anyway, so yeah, the Paragon, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong versus the team of the Don Callis family and the team of Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, and Josh Alexander, with likely Don Callis being in the corner. Like I said, this was a match that basically Adam Cole, who was on commentary for most of Collision, throughout the challenge to Don Callis, and the match was accepted. And so, yeah, so we've seen these two factions kind of butt heads the last few weeks now. And so this match was thrown together, and yeah, anytime if you're familiar with, of course, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, they were part of, they were together for a long time, even dating back to the days in Ring of Honor. And then when they went to WWE, the NXT, they were known as the Undisputed Era. And then they all came to AEW one at a time. I think it was first, O'Reilly, and then it was Bobby Fish. Then Roderick Strong came later, then Adam Cole came later. And so yeah, now the three of them are in AEW, and they're known as the Paragon. And now we got them versus the Don Callis family of Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, and one of the newest members, that being Josh Alexander, another individual who signed recently with AEW, who, of course, a former well-known wrestler from TNA, alongside with, of course, Mike Bailey. And so now we got this trios match here, special trios match. That was the challenge, like I said, was thrown out by Adam Cole. And I think this is going to be a good match, man. These two teams, these two factions, or these two, 6-man tag these two teams, if you will. I personally think it's all 6 of these guys are capable of putting on a good match with just about anybody. I think at some point down the line, these teams need to at least be in the discussion for the trios, the trios championship, for the trios championships, for the trios division, just in general, because we need to see more trios. Like, we need to see more trios, just like we need to see more tag teams. So I think these are two factions that could play into the trios division as well. And of course, the trios championships are currently held by the Ops, who are going to be anarchy in the arena. But yeah, so I personally think it's going to be a solid match on the show. I mean, I'm a big fan of course, the Paragon, at Cole, O'Reilly, and Strong. I've been a fan of theirs for a long time, and they're capable. Those 3 guys are capable of putting on a good match with just about anybody. Same could be said for the Don Callis family, regardless of what you think of Don Callis himself. He's put together quite a unit of talented wrestlers. So, Takeshita's been lighting it up. He's really vastly improved the last year or so. Same thing with Kyle Fletcher. And Josh Alexander, former TNA World Champion, he's always a threat to put on a solid-ass match, to put on a really good match with anybody. So, I think it's going to be a good match. I think it's going to be a good 6-man tag, good, solid trios match. I'm looking forward to it. This could be a dark horse for being a match on the show that a lot of people may be, it could be a dark horse for match of the night. Well, I won't say that, but I do think it's going to be very good. I think it's going to be an underrated match. I'm sure it's probably going to be underrated going in, but I think it's an underrated match. I think it's going to be very good. As to who wins, another kind of toss-up, I'm going to give it to the Paragon. I think the Paragon overcomes the Don Callis family, and I think these two teams, these two factions are going to be butting heads, for the next couple weeks, I'm sure. And hopefully at some point they factor into either the tag division or the trios division. I would like to see both these teams kind of go at it, with some stakes on the line, with some gold on the line. We'll see what happens. But I got the Paragon, going over on Don Callis family here in the trios match. And then finally, we get what was announced as our main event of the show, and that being the 2025 Men's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament final. And of course, the winner of this match will not only be the champion, will not only win the Owen Hart Cup, they will also move on, much like with the women, they will move on, the winner will move on to All in Texas and get a guaranteed shot at the AEW World Heavyweight Championship currently held by Jon Moxley. So this match is very important. So it's going to be the two finalists, that being Will Ospreay, the one and only Will Ospreay, and Hangman Adam Page. I talked a little bit about this match. If you guys saw the video I did a few weeks ago, or like a week or so ago, you pretty much already know my prediction, but I'll talk about this a little here. So both these guys, like going into this tournament, when I saw the brackets, I had a feeling, a distinct feeling that these two guys would be the ones to make it to the finals, especially Will Ospreay. Like Will Ospreay, with that whole thing, going into the tournament when he was making all those declarations, and, at the time you had Jay White as part of that whole thing, but then Jay White unfortunately got injured, and I hope he comes back soon. I hope Jay White comes back soon, man. Jay White, he's another guy who needs to be in that world title conversation. I'm sure he will at some point. But yeah, Will Ospreay was, to me, a lock for the finals. And sure enough, he is here. He's in the finals in this match, which will be the main event of the show. It was announced as the main event of the show. And then Hangman Adam Page was another guy who, when I saw his name on the other side of the bracket, I had a feeling that he would make it he would make a deep run in this tournament. And sure enough, he's in the finals. So I look to this match. I personally think these two guys may very well have match of the night. Looking at this card, there's a lot of solid matches on the show that I think are going to be bangers, that I think are going to be good outings, good matches, and, very much praised and talked about. But this match here, I think, is going to be on the next level. This Will Ospreay, Hangman Adam Page tournament, Owen Hart tournament final match, I think it's going to be a next level match, dude. Like, quality-wise, this might be match of the night. Could even be match of the year. That's how good, like, anytime you have a match with Will Ospreay in it, it's always going to be a match of the year candidate. Same thing could be said for Kenny Omega. Anytime Kenny Omega has a match, it's always going to be a match of the year candidate. And this one would be no different. And Hangman Adam Page is no slouch himself, former world champion, and he's been rising in popularity, and he's still very good. He's still very good in the ring. So I look for these two guys to have a badass fucking match. It's easily, to me, going to be a match of the night front runner. Easily for me. I don't even have to watch it. It's going to be a front runner for match of the night. So I'm very much looking forward to see what these two guys do in the ring. It's the first time ever match. Very much looking forward to it. As to who wins, you already know what my prediction is, but I'm going to say it here again. Will Ospreay, to me, is winning this match. Just for the fact of, I think Will Ospreay, it makes more sense for me for Will Ospreay to win over Hangman Page. Not if Hangman Page won, I would not be mad at that. These again, another match here with two guys who, if either guy wins, I will be happy with. But I just think to me, it makes more sense for Will Ospreay to win this match just because of everything that's happening right now with the Death Riders and with Swerve Strickland. I think Hangman Page has some loose ends to tie up with that. And I personally think, we haven't seen Will Ospreay versus Jon Moxley. We've seen Hangman Page versus Jon Moxley a couple times. And Hangman Page did get a title shot against Jon Moxley back at World's End last year. Granted, it was a 4-way, but still. And I just think that it's Will Ospreay's time. I think Will Ospreay should be the guy to dethrone Jon Moxley and become the world champion. And think about this. In August, at Forbidden Door is going to be in London. It's going to be in the UK. They're going to be returning to the UK for Forbidden Door in August. And in London, England. And Will Ospreay said in the promo, that's 30 minutes away from where he lives. So you don't think that Tony Khan and AEW are thinking about putting the title on Will Ospreay and then having him go into Forbidden Door as the champion in front of his hometown, his home country, and his hometown crowd? You don't think they're considering that? Yeah, I think... yeah, of course they're considering it. But yeah, Will Ospreay, Hangman Page, Owen Hart men's tournament final. I got Will Ospreay winning this thing, man, and he's going to go into All in Texas, and he's going to take the title from Jon Moxley. I just get that feeling, man. But either way, whoever wins, whatever happens in the match, it's going to be a match of the night for sure, front runner, and it's going to be a badass match. I can't wait to see it. So So that's my pick for that match. And those are all the matches. Those are all 10 matches. Those are my predictions. And so that's pretty much going to do it for this video, man. I said it wasn't, I did it again. You know, I said I wasn't trying to not make it a long video, and we're already almost 40 minutes in. It's going to be 40 minutes by the time I finish this, but yeah, that's what happens. But anyway, so that's pretty much going to do it. Those are my predictions. Those are all the matches, my predictions. And that's going to be it for my AEW Double or Nothing 2025 predictions video. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys are going to watch the pay-per-view tomorrow night, hope you enjoy it. Hope it is enjoyable. I'm sure it will be. And I personally am going to enjoy it myself because I will be watching it. So yeah, we'll see how my predictions play out. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say for that. Say for this video. Thank you for watching once more. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, give me your thoughts on my picks, your thoughts on the matches, all that kind of stuff. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate all the support I get. If that being said, it's pretty much going to do it, man. So thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your night, the rest of your weekend. I'll see you guys tomorrow night with the fallout from Double or Nothing. And so yeah, whenever I may do a video between now and then, we'll see. But anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you for watching once more. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, Wrestling Otaku, I'm out for now. See you guys later. Peace.